Hey everybody, how y'all doing today? Hope you're doing well. Let's talk a little bit more Seahawks. Over the last couple of days, me and some of the guys in my Twitch streams, and by the way, if you're not in the Twitch streams every night, you're missing out because most nights we end up mostly talking Seahawks for a majority of the stream. Couple of the guys who used to hang out in my stream on YouTube are over there as well. We're usually talking about the combine right now, the draft, the free agency, all this stuff. So if you want to talk Seahawks with myself and other people in the stream, you're missing out. Go over there, link in the description. We have a lot of fun. So we were talking about Darrell Taylor a little bit a couple days ago in stream, and I was wondering about something, and I went to go look it up, and I discovered something pretty cool in one of the Spotrac pages, trying to research this and look it up. So, some of you guys may remember the 2020 season. Near the end, we brought Rashad Penny onto the active roster for a few games. I think it was 3. And Rashad Penny basically didn't do anything in those 3 games. He might have had like 20 yards total. Did nothing of impact. Didn't make any kind of impression on this team. And you would probably say, well, it doesn't matter. But as it turns out, it really does matter. Because Rashad Penny played in those 3 games in 2020, he got an accrued season for his rookie contract, meaning that he is now an unrestricted free agent. If Rashad Penny had not been activated for those 3 games, or even had he been activated for only 2 games, keeping him this offseason would be trivial. I believe he would be restricted, if not still under contract. But either way, there would be almost no risk of losing Rashad Penny. And at the time, we probably didn't think it mattered because Rashad Penny looked like such a bust. He couldn't stay healthy. We probably were thinking, well, whatever. Let's just get him out there. It's not going to matter. Well, it matters. And it was all for like, I don't know, 20 yards in 2020. Bad. Very bad business. However, at the same time as this was playing out, the Seahawks were making the opposite decision with another player that in the future, in the near future for this team, is going to pay off big. And I'm talking about Darrell Taylor and the decision to not play him at all in 2020. So, Darrell Taylor came to Seattle with an injured foot. And I think he had a rod put in. I can't remember the exact details. But he didn't play at all in 2020. Did not play a snap, was not active. Red shirt, basically. That's what they call it in college. When you're on the team but you don't play, it's a red shirt. This was a full red shirt. He did not play a snap. Because of that, he did not get an accrued year on his rookie deal. And this has cascaded in a couple of different ways. So I was wondering, how does that affect the rest of Darrell Taylor's rookie contract, given the fact that he missed that first year? So if you look at the Spotrac page, basically what it has done is made it so that Darrell Taylor will be a restricted free agent in 2024. So we have him at a cheap cost, 1.8 million in 2022. We have him cheap in 2023, 2.1, and then we have him restricted in 2024. And I'll get into that a little bit more later. But the fact that he's still restricted in 2024 indicates to me that he cannot negotiate for a new contract in 2023. Players are typically allowed to negotiate a new deal after their 3rd season, but the fact that he has this restricted tag on him in 2024 tells me that he may not be able to because he didn't play that first year. That might not be true, but in any case, unless he has a monster 3rd year, I'm talking like 18 plus sacks, he wouldn't exactly be in the greatest position to negotiate a new deal anyway. Now, contrast what I just said about Darrell Taylor's contract just to show that it does matter that he didn't get to play in 2020. If you look at DK Metcalf, who was our second round pick the previous year, he is not restricted after his fourth year. He has no such hold on him. And as we know, Metcalf can negotiate for a new contract now, after 2021, because I assume, in part because he is a unrestricted free agent in 2023. And obviously, DK has played in every game in his career so far for the Seahawks, and he has earned that ability to do so by playing at a very high level. He's made a Pro Bowl. He broke rookie records for the franchise. He broke franchise records for the franchise, and has had 3 incredibly productive years to start his career. But Taylor, I'm guessing, will not be able to make the same negotiation in 2023 after this upcoming season, and he will be restricted. So you're almost, in a way, getting 2 extra years of Taylor cheap. How cheap? Let's take a look at the NFL glossary on a restricted free agent. So when you're a restricted free agent, you can negotiate and sign with any team, but the team that you are coming from has right of first refusal or draft pick compensation. So if we decide to utilize the restricted free agent tag on Darrell Taylor, which we will be able to do, and the player can't really do anything about it if it's utilized, that's how this works. Here are some options. So the core of restricted free agency is you place a 1-year contract on a player, and the player cannot turn it down. The player cannot refuse it. The player cannot negotiate it. The contract is the contract. The only way they can get out would be if another team signs them to a bigger deal than the tender, and on top of that deal, they have to give the team that the player came from a draft pick. So, first round tender. It's a 1-year contract worth, in this case, it would be worth $4.8 million. Now, the cap is going up, so this number is going up as well. But by the time we get to 2024, it's probably going to be like 5.2, 5.3 million. Pretty reasonably priced. So, if we put the first round tender on Darrell Taylor, and another team comes along and says, hey, we want Darrell Taylor, we're going to offer him a bigger contract than that tender. They offer him, it could be 1 year, $5 million, or if they wanted to make a real play at him, they would probably have to offer, a big contract because he's going to be a pass rusher. It might be like 3 years, $60 million. And we decide to not match. That means we get that team's first round draft pick. And unless Darrell Taylor goes out there and sets the world on fire and makes the All-Pro team, there are not going to be that many teams in 2024 that are willing to give up their first round draft pick for a player who, by the way, at that point will already be turning 27 and may or may not have some at least minor medical red flags. So if a team tries to take him from us, we can either match the offer or we say, okay, see you later, and we get the first round pick. And all it costs us is a tender that, if he stays, is probably going to be worth less than 5.5, right? At least less than 5.5, more than worth it for even a slightly above average pass rusher, especially in this new defense. Then you have the second round tender, which is the same thing, except it's cheaper. By the time 2024 comes around, it's probably going to be like 3.8, 3.9. It's going to be less than 4 million. And if a team tops the offer and takes him, you get their second round pick. However, since Darrell Taylor was actually a second round pick, you could just do the original round tender and say, okay, we're going to put this tender on you that is worth 2.1 million or 2.2. By the time this happens, it'll probably be up to about 2.5, 2.6. And you get the second round pick if somebody takes him. So there's no reason to not do that. And that's really about all there is to it. This is just some stuff about how you can expect the tender to increase as time goes by. But I think the short version is that it's not going to go up by enough to drastically affect anything. So even if you do that first round tender, you're talking about probably like 5.5 million at most. It's actually probably going to be closer to like 5.2 for a player who already we're looking at and going, hey, this guy's going to be really good. This guy is at the very least going to be a quality pass rusher in this league. And I think he does have star potential in this new defense. But granted, if he does beast out the way that some people, including myself, are kind of expecting, he may very well prove to be worth a first-round tender. And some team might be willing to risk that first rounder to get him. And hey, that's okay too. Granted, I wish we had a better front office that had a little more credible track record drafting, but maybe we'll get to the point in a couple years now where we're like, okay, we already got some good years out of Darrell Taylor, but he's not young anymore. By that point, he'll be 27 going on 28 pretty quickly here. So you might go, okay, we'll take your first round pick, and we're not going to overpay a guy who's already who's already going to be, by that point, by the next time he's playing, he'll be 28. So this creates a lot of potential flexibility for this team going forward. And let's say Darrell Taylor becomes a good player, but not Von Miller. Let's say he becomes a guy who gets you 10 to 12 sacks a season pretty reliably, and he's good, but he's not anybody somebody would give up a first-round pick for at 28. Then you put that tender on him, either the first-round tender or the original round tender, and you've got another year of a very cheap, cost-effective player, and that's one of the most valuable things in this league. So this has actually worked out pretty well for the Seahawks, and I know that sounds a little dirty to say, but it is what it is. So because Darrell Taylor didn't play in 2020, we have what kind of feels like 2 extra years of club control. You get 2023, whereas if he played in 2020, he might not get to 2023. He might get to the off season after this upcoming year and be like, pay me now. Because he missed 2020, that's a lot less likely to happen. It might be impossible. And then you get 2024, which will probably be very cheap unless he plays so well that a team goes, you know what? We're going to give him a big contract and try to put the squeeze on you a little bit, but that's okay too. Then we're getting either a really, really good player going into his potential prime, or we're getting a first-round pick for not a whole lot, for a guy who was going to be a free agent anyway. So let me know what you guys think about this, if anything. The team may have really screwed the pooch with Rashaad Penny because, again, if we had just not played him in 2020, bringing him back would be a piece of cake. But the fact that we didn't make the same mistake with Darrell Taylor means we are probably going to get 2 extra years of cheap control on him. We're talking about cap hits that will be completely insignificant compared to what you'll see from elite pass rushers. So it's kind of a situation where no matter what happens, we win as long as Taylor becomes a good player. If he's good, then we can keep him that extra year for a very cheap cost. If he's elite, then we either get a first-round pick because someone uses the tops our offer, or we're getting an elite player for the duration of his prime when we give him a monster deal in 2025. So, see you guys later. Go Hawks. And hey, it's good news, right? Sometimes it feels like we're a little low on good news. Sometimes we got to talk about the good stuff. See you guys later. Go Hawks.